What's up, everyone? It's the God, Young Montu-Ra, and welcome to Montu-Ra, the podcast, where I talk about the good, the bad, and the downright dirty of music, business, and spirituality. What's up, my guys and goddesses? This is the first episode of Montu-Ra, the podcast. I'm super excited, super grateful for everybody listening in on today. If you don't know about me or even know my name is Marcus Presley. I go by the God, Young Montu-Ra. Like I said, this is episode 1. This is the intro. You're going to get to know a little bit about me. I don't even know where to begin. This is probably my 7th take doing this intro, but I told myself I'm just going to be myself, like it or not, love it or not. So, like I said, we're going to talk on this podcast music, business, and spirituality. And I've been thinking, where do I want to start? Where do I want to begin? But I do know my love for music started back in the day writing songs for my grandma. I did also know that I didn't want to work for anyone or be told what to do. And I knew I had some type of divine connection with the Most High. Now, I didn't know what it was growing up, but I knew I was tapped into some type of unseen presence. And those are the topics we're going to talk about. But I'm going to fast forward my life. I hate to do this because everything is so important, but I'm going to fast forward a ton to when I did graduate with my MBA in international business. That was in about 2013. So we're gonna dial it back 10 years ago. Got my degree, and then I decided to move to Los Angeles, Hollywood, LA, the big city, the bright lights. And I want people to know I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was fortunate enough to be able to travel the world in my early 20s, in my late teens, actually. I lived in Europe. I lived in London and Florence, Italy, and it was a blessing. And I thought I knew what I was getting myself into because I had experience traveling, but LA was a whole different breed. This was something that I moved out there with a couple $1,000 and thinking I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be the biggest star. And come to find out, I had to start working for $8 an hour because I couldn't get a job. I just told you I got my MBA, and it didn't work out as planned. So as I'm grinding in Los Angeles, my first few months were pretty tough. I was sending out emails and phone calls and all type of things, just trying to get work. But nothing would happen. Finally got a phone call, and it was from a place on Sunset Boulevard. I'll never forget this. And it was like, hey, you want to come in and clean cars? And if anybody knows me out there listening to this, you knew that was way beneath me as I thought it was at the time. But I said, you know what? This is the only thing that's getting back to me. Let me go ahead and give it a shot. As time went forward, it was tons of work, laborious work. I didn't even like to get my hands actually dirty back then. But you know what that experience taught me was to continue to trust this crazy process. And we're going to talk about that a ton as we continue to do more and more episodes in this podcast. But that experience of detailing cars in Hollywood, I got to meet a ton of famous people. I started to build long-lasting relationships because of that. And because of that situation, I ended up starting my own detailing business. Now, I know this podcast might be a bit everywhere, but I told you I'm going to be myself. And that is what I'm expressing on today. But that 8,000-hour detailing job really taught me a valuable lesson of hard work and dedication. Now, mind you, I went to LA to do my music. So at the same time, I'm working from about 10 a.m. to 6 to 8 p.m. I did sign to an independent label in the first few months of my arrival in LA. So I started to burn both ends of the candle. And that was what helped me to understand where I'm at today. That grind, being able to really put in the work, to be able to not even sleep some days. But signing to that independent label, that taught me another valuable lesson, right? We're at the beginning, the springtime of 2014. So as I'm starting to learn the process of business and music, at the same time, I'm still having some struggles. I'm still lacking in that belief in the faith of myself, in a sense of not necessarily my abilities, but wondering, is this all going to work out? Are things actually coming together, because I still can't see it? Now, because of that independent label and that $8 an hour job, I started to really have that focus, though. That was something that was changing inside of me that I just can't even put it into words, even to this day. But after time went on, I had to make a decision. The music, the independent label, things weren't working out. I had to make a choice. I said, you know what? Everything just kind of dissolved in a sense. Had tons of records, never got put out. And I started to ask myself, do I even need anybody to do this? Can I just do this on myself? But I'm still working at this $8 an hour job, and I'm having some success as well. Now I'm thinking at the same time, if I'm going to clean cars, I'm going to clean cars for myself. If I'm going to clean cars, I'm going to start my own business. Now, that is something I've never actually started a business. Mind you, I went to school for business, but never actually started one. So this is the first business that I had. And as I started the detailing business, which was called Imperial Detailing, obviously I was excited at first and everything. And I was, really trying to build my network and build those relationships from that $8 an hour car washing gig. Now, as I start to have some success as years go by, I'm still missing something. I'm still missing my music. I told you I had to make a choice, and that choice was hard for me. I had to say, you know what? Let me continue to move through this, because this is paying the bills for me. This is paying my life. Now, as my business started to take off, there were still some struggles. There were still things that I had to really consider that I wasn't even thinking of. And I want people to understand, when you're listening to this podcast, we're always going to talk about music. It's going to be business. It's always going to be spirituality. But I want people to understand my come up, my struggles, the things that I'm actually going through as well. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible on this podcast. And I want people to feel that, feel my energy, feel my vibes, feel me through this microphone here and through those speakers. But as I continue to trust my process, I continue to have many failures as well. Those are the things that really built me, and that is why I'm so passionate about this podcast today. These are my experiences. These are things that I've been going through. These are things that I have a knowledge about because of the struggles, not necessarily my wins in life. And I think those losses are the things that have shaped me on today. So like I said, like my detailing business is taking off. I'm networking, I'm meeting people. And, the thing is about that business and everything that goes into a business, I did not know, like I said, what I was getting myself into. We all think we have the answers. We're going to do this great thing and everything's going to be perfect. I didn't really know anything about detailing cars, to be totally honest. So I'm going in it just out of passion, just wanting to make that dollar, just wanting to be my own boss. And that is another point we're always going to talk about on this podcast, is being your own boss. And I'm really into ownership and telling yourself what to do, putting all your chips in, betting on yourself is another topic we're always going to talk about as well. But like I said, as my music career started to dwindle, I'm full force into detailing. I'm full force into building a company. But something changed. I knew I had something else to give to my musical passion. So around 2015, 2016, I'm finally making a living off my detailing business. I decided to open up a studio in North Hollywood. And this experience changed my life. I was finally creating the music that I liked. I was finally having some income coming in. But at the same time, I'm still burning both ends of that candle. I realized then that, you know what, I'm going to take this as far as it can go. I'm going to network with people, and I met some amazing mentors. I met some people in the industry that I'm not going to name drop, but they actually really changed my life, and I used their information that they told me back then to this day. And because of that, that situation of things, I realized that I'm only a rapper. I only knew I could only rap. And we're going to talk about bringing value as well in different podcasts, but I'm just giving you my story here so you can get to know me. With me being in the studio and renting renting a spot, having the equipment, it didn't take me long to realize that I have to be able to do everything. I can't just go and just say, hey, I just rap, I just write songs. I have to be able to do it all. And with my business background and my business degrees and having my own company, I started to understand I can't limit myself. The only limitations we place are on ourselves. The Most High is going to give us everything in abundance of everything that we desire. And I still didn't get that. I'm still working on that to this day. But this daggone, music industry and everything that I had a passion for, it still wasn't coming together. So by the time I had the studio for a couple years, by the time 2017 came, I realized I got to make another change. But the only foundation I had was detailing cars, but I didn't have that passion for it. And that is something that I would continue to irritate me as life would go on. I didn't realize that the detailing business actually was the platform, the foundation that changed my life for the better. I was looking at everything from a sense of ungratefulness. And that is something that I despise in myself as we're talking. But I'm harping on the businesses because that is something that I wasn't grateful for, but I needed. That was something that we can look back in life or in different situations in our own personal lives and say, you know what, that struggle or the thing that I didn't love or thought that wasn't needed was actually the foundation. So as I get rid of my studio that I worked hard for, I knew I had to go back to the drawing board again. But I had this amazing business, eco-friendly car washing. Nobody in LA even knew what it was. And I guess my passion for the business side of it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all in into this. But as I knew I failed in 2017 when I got rid of the studio, I knew I had failed though. I knew that, I was upset. But that was when I had another great change in my life, and that was my spiritual awakening. Now, I think back in my early teens, maybe in my early days even, I had multiple spiritual awakenings, but this one was different. As I go back to my small apartment in LA, and we'll talk about that later, it was a very devastating point in my life. I had this goal, and mind you, I've been out in LA now for 4 years, 4 or 5 years even. And I was like, man, I failed. I failed again. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm still in the business. I don't really love it. I've been doing this labor for 5+ years now. But the Most High made me tap in, and we're going to talk about the growth in spirituality and different things in the realm of being spiritual and tarot. And I am a certified astrologer. I just want to put that out there, and we'll get to that in a bit. But I knew that something had changed in me. I knew it was like the beginning, a rebirth in my life. So as I continue to ponder in 2017, I'm thinking, man, what am I doing? Another failure. Another situation that didn't work out for me, and I thought I was cursed. I really thought that the Most High did not like me. But as I continued to dive deeper in my actual detailing business, I started to meet real mentors that turned into friends, that turned into family. But I didn't know it at the time. So as I'm going through my spiritual awakening, I realized people are going to come into your life to help you. I have one mentor that gave me a ton of books. He just gave me books. He gave me the Audible app, hundreds and hundreds of books. And he gave me a list. Read these. Every time you come over to clean my cars, I'm going to be asking you about these questions. I'm asking you about these books. I want a summary. Right? And I'm thinking, what is this? What is this guy on? Like, who does he think he is? Right? But the thing is, I took his advice. I started to, really dive deep. I started to say, you know what? I'm gonna listen. I was a hard-headed kid. I didn't listen to nobody. I might not still listen to anybody, but I did listen to him. And he said, you know what? Go listen to these books. I would go over his house probably every other week at that time, maybe even once a week, because he just wanted to help me. Now I'm dealing with LA. I told you I have one of the best car detailing business in California. So money was not an issue for these clients. But they found something in me that I didn't see into myself. So as I continued to go to one client's house, he started to, test me. Different things about business. It was about being trustworthy. It was about having integrity. A prime example was him keeping a ton of money in his car to see if I would take it. Keeping money under his seats to see if I would clean and take his money. And one example was he asked me, go ahead and get that money out the car. I'm going to tip you. And he was like, did you take it? And I was like, no, it's in the glove. It's in the console, the center console. And that was one of the I guess points that I made to him, that I'm trustworthy. I have integrity. You can trust me, right? So as I continue to go through this process of understanding myself, trying to find myself, I'm still working outside and I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But I didn't know that I was building these long-lasting relationships. I didn't know at the time I was trusting my own process. So as 2018 and 2019 come, I start to realize all these books that he's giving me are having me tap into astrology. So I start reading books. I start talking to different mentors about that. I start taking different courses. And now I'm a certified astrologer, and we're going to talk about astrology a ton in this podcast. But I want you all to know I am legit young entrepreneur. I'm a legit business owner. I am a certified astrologer and astronomer. So this is information that's coming from years and years of study. My passion, my goal is to help people, but also to tell my story. So as I continue to go through this process, now I want to, make my business bigger. I want it to grow. Now when 2019 comes, I'm like, you know what? I want my own shop. I was mobile at the time. So that is how I was able to maneuver and meet so many people. But I said, I want people to come to me now. I want my own shop. Right? So again, sending out tons of emails, sending out a ton of my information, references from clients and things like that. Couldn't get a shop. I was like, man, what is it with me? What is it with the Most High not giving me what I desire? But I just wasn't ready, and I didn't know that. So as 2019 does go to an end, and I want people to understand we have to go all in. We have to tell the Most High exactly what we want. we have to make sure the energy knows exactly where we're headed, because we say all type of stuff that we desire. But I told myself, you know what? I'm going all in now. I'm going all in again. I'm going to go all in into this business. F it. So as I made that decision, it wasn't but maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, early 2020, in January, maybe the end of January, I finally get the phone call. And it was like, hey, you want to come in for an interview? I finally had all my pieces together. I even wrote a book, Eco-Friendly Car Washing and Mobile Detailing. You can find that on Amazon. And Lulu. It is still out there. But it finally lined up for me. So then I realized, I was like, you know what? I finally got what I felt like I worked for. So, I started the business, I started the shop, in early February, maybe February 4th. I have people working for me now. I got 5 and 6 guys, and business is taking off. I'm making more money than I ever imagined, in the sense of starting something from ground zero. And it wasn't only but for 6 weeks. We know what happened. This scam did. The plan did. You all know what happened in 2020. But the Most High gave me 6 weeks. It gave me enough time. And I still didn't see my blessing. I don't think I was grateful for that. But the Most High knew exactly what I needed when I needed, even though why didn't you give it to me earlier? Why didn't you do it earlier? And we're going to talk about things happening on time. And it may not be our time, but it happens at the right time. But for those 6 weeks, I was like, I did it. And then after that, everything went downhill again. I failed again. But through that process and through that journey of the uncertainty, I started to make myself even more grand. I started to make myself, I tapped in more spiritually. I started to really take my meditation seriously. Started to implement yoga. Started to really work on my spirituality. And I want people to understand, being spiritual does not mean that life is perfect. I think life is even harder. I think tapping into the rabbit holes, going down our own rabbit holes of life, those are the things, the struggles is what makes us stronger. I knew that if everything happened great for me on the first try, and everybody loved me, and you're so perfect, I wouldn't be talking about this today. I wouldn't have anything to say. You wouldn't be able to understand me. But I wouldn't be able to understand myself. So with all that being said, now I'm in Europe. Now I am chasing my dream of music. I told you I went all in a business that I didn't love. Now I'm in love. Now I'm ready. Now I have the tools. I am equipped with everything that I went through. Now I said, if I can do this with that business, if I can go from $8 an hour to a 6-figure business, I can definitely do this with something I'm passionate about even more. And I want people to understand, I just got out here to Europe. This year, it's 2023 right now. January, I said, you know what? I'm going all in on myself again. And this is just a brief summary of my life, but I want people to understand, as we continue to make more and more episodes, this is the intro. This is me. You're hearing in the speakers. Like I said, you may not know me, but my name is Marcus Presley. I go by the God Young Montu-Ra, and this is the introduction of Montu-Ra, the podcast. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. More episodes coming. I'm going to be doing the weekly astrology reading. I'm going to be diving deep on the dark side of spirituality. We're going to talk about being an independent artist. We're going to talk about a number of things. But like I said, we're going to focus on music, business, and spirituality. I hope you love the intro, and there is more coming soon. It's the God Young Montu-Ra, and I will see you in the next one.